All right, we're diving into some really mind-bending stuff today. We're looking at a source that pretty much challenges the ground beneath our feet, the very way we think about the universe. It suggests there's this hidden principle, this hidden force making everything tick. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, the material we're exploring today just kicks the door down with this one huge question. What if consciousness isn't just a little accident that happened inside the universe? What if consciousness is what the universe is actually made of? Let's try to unpack what that even means. But first, to really get how wild this idea is, we have to quickly remind ourselves of the story we all know, the standard scientific model of how our universe works. Right, this is the story you and I were probably taught. You've got the Big Bang, you've got matter and energy doing their thing for billions of years, and then, way down the line, on this one little planet, brains get complicated enough that, poof, consciousness just sort of happens. It's a story where matter comes first, always. Okay, but the source material we're looking at today asks us to take that entire story and just flip it completely upside down. It says, what if we've got the starting point all wrong? And here it is, side by side. You can see how totally opposite these two views are. The old story says matter creates consciousness, but this new story, the one we're exploring, suggests the exact reverse. Consciousness is the source, and matter is what emerges from it. In what you could call a consciousness-first universe, reality isn't like a giant clockwork machine. It's more like a thought or a dream, happening in some kind of cosmic mind. The physical world that we can touch and measure, that's not the base reality. It's a manifestation, an expression of that deeper consciousness. So you might be asking, okay, if consciousness is shaping reality, how does it do that? Well, the source redefines a word you've probably heard before, psychokinesis, or PK. And no, forget bending spoons or anything you've seen in the movies. In this model, PK is the fundamental creative engine of the cosmos. It's the process by which consciousness actually weaves the fabric of reality. And this is where the idea really forces you to rethink, well, everything. All those fundamental forces of physics we learned about. In this model, they aren't the ultimate cause of things anymore. They're actually the effect. Just take gravity, for example. We think of it as mass bending space-time. But in this new view, it's seen as the patterned pull of organized consciousness, gathering matter into shapes like stars and planets. Electromagnetism? Not just particles pushing and pulling, but more like a vibration, a resonance happening in this field of consciousness. And those nuclear forces holding atoms together? That's just psychokinesis working at the tiniest scales, keeping everything stable and coherent. To make this all a little easier to picture, the source uses this really beautiful metaphor. It says to think of the universe as a grand cosmic orchestra. And in this amazing orchestra, psychokinesis is the conductor you can't see. Gravity? That's the deep, slow harmony holding the whole structure together. Electromagnetism? That's the rhythm, the pulse of light and energy. And the nuclear forces? That's the tight, fast percussion holding the very beat of matter itself. And it's all being guided by this one single principle. So here's the absolute kicker. In this view, the laws of physics aren't these unbreakable, rigid rules set in stone. They're more like habits. They're the reliable, consistent patterns that show up because the underlying consciousness, the conductor, is consistent. Okay, that's all huge cosmic level stuff. But what does it mean for us, for you and me? Well, if any of this is true, it completely changes our role in the universe, from just being spectators to being something so much more. This is the big shift in perspective. If the universe itself is conscious, and you are a little piece of that consciousness, then you are not separate from the act of creation. You are an active participant. You're a co-creator of reality. According to this model, that means every single thought you have, every intention, sends a little ripple out into that cosmic field. The very act of you looking at something isn't passive. It actually helps shape the thing being looked at. Your awareness in this framework is a real force that leaves a mark on the universe. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds incredibly profound, maybe a little out there, but it raises a massive question. How in the world could you ever prove or even test an idea like this? The source actually tackles that head-on. Exactly. That's the whole problem, right? If PK isn't some predictable mechanical force that you can measure like gravity, then trying to poke it and prod it with our usual scientific tools is probably going to fail. It's not playing by machine rules because it's not a machine. So, the article says, we need a new approach. So the proposed new method isn't about trying to force a result. It's about attunement. It's about creating conditions of focused collective intention, and then looking for the subtle patterns. It even suggests that we could start looking at weird quantum stuff like entanglement, not just as spooky physics, but as evidence of consciousness aligning information across space. The whole game shifts from demanding certainty to recognizing patterns. And really, this brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this whole perspective. If this model holds even a shred of truth, it means we aren't living in a cold, dead, indifferent universe. We are part of a cosmos that is fundamentally aware, a reality that listens, that responds, and that is in a constant creative dance with us. So we're going to end on the same profound question the source material leaves us with. Are those fundamental laws of physics the bedrock of our reality? Are they not unbreakable rules, but just the deeply ingrained, persistent habits of a universal consciousness? It's a staggering thought to sit with.